I should say so. What? Another week. Another week. Can you believe it? Hello, everybody. Look at me. I look like a raving lunatic. I don't know what the noise is. I'm stuck. Hang on. I got my. Oh, hang on a minute, everyone. Oh, this is driving me insane. Anyway, what the hell? What a show. We've got a show that is so ridiculously jam-packed. Hi, I'm Russ Kane. This is The Daily Show on Men's Radio, exclusive too. It's crazy. We've got a ridiculous show. We've got a ridiculous show today. I can't tell you how packed it is. I think I've overcooked the egg. Look at my hair. I look like Ken Dodd on acid, for Christ's sake. Anyway, you know her. Don't nod. I can see you nodding. Cow. You know her. You love her. She is the sex goddess of Stanmore. She is only lovely Demisa.
Good morning.
If that isn't enough to have the most... Hang on. I'm pumped. If that wasn't enough, we've also got all the way from and flown in at huge expense from New Malden. You know him. You kind of love him. No, you love him a lot. It's only Neil Long.
Greetings and good afternoon. Hello, welcome.
More exciting than anything.
Hello, Leslie. More.
Oh, this is an insane. All the way from New York City, one of my favorite cabaret acts. We set this up ages and ages and ages ago, and I'm so thrilled it's here. It's only Jason Kravitz.
Hello, my goodness. Hello, Longy.
I know, we're
hello,
packed.
lovely. Hello,
It looks like It looks like Celebrity Family Squares or something. What was that show?
Yeah, it does.
What was that show, Jason? I thought we'd start off with some comedy because I'm feeling like so down in the freaking dumps with this, and I couldn't think of anything better. Jason Kravitz. I'm not even sure how we met. I came to see your show at Crazy Cox. It was one of the cleverest damn things I've ever seen. It was just fantastic.
Look at your hand. What did you do there? You look like you got a cricket bat sewn into your hand there.
Jason, this was the last time I ever go on a blind date with Amber Heard. That's all I've got to say on the subject. I got
Timely,
nothing else.
relevant.
Nothing else. I should have known.
Brilliant.
I thought maybe she'd changed. I was a fool to myself. I'm an idiot. Right. Tell us all about what you do, because it's so... I know you two, Neil, Longy and lovely Demisa, probably don't know, but it's so damn clever what you do.
Well, it's nice to see you both. Hi, Longy. Hi, lovely. It's nice to meet you.
Hey, Jason, I'm intrigued. I want to hear more.
Oh, I'll tell you more. My show is it's a cabaret act in the American sense of the word. Like, there's no burlesque. No one strips down. I mean,
you've met Leslie now, so burlesque can be included.
It's true. It's improvised. You never know what's going to happen. If
Precisely.
You show up, there could be nudity. I have no idea. But it's a cabaret in the American sense of the word, where it's somebody on stage singing songs and telling stories about their life. However, that person, the character that's telling these stories and singing these songs, is not a real person. It's made up on the spot. I play whatever character the audience gives me, and I sing songs that are made up based on suggestions from the audience that they write down ahead of time.
That's so clever.
It's bizarre, and it's I think it's kind of unique. It's terrifying most of the time,
but it's so random. It's so, because I sat there, and I got to tell you, gang, it's so random because everyone's saying the most ridiculously, deliberately stupid things. You think, well, I can't make anything out of this. Then Jason goes up and he does an entire musical based on whatever you put into, I think it's like a fishbowl or something.
Well, what happens is when people come in, there's a piece of paper at your table, and people fill out the piece of paper, and it includes basically suggestions, and those are a piece of advice that you've gotten before, the last text you received, a place in the world, things like that, and that's what goes in the fishbowl. And then I make up songs based on whatever suggestions I pull out in that moment. I just did a show in New York at Birdland, and I got a suggestion. I said, "Oh yes, I was on a bus, and somebody gave me this wonderful piece of advice." This old man, he said, "Never trust a fart over 40." So that became a song that I had to sing called "Never Trust a Fart Over 40." And so ideally, on the best circumstances, it has a shape to it like the story somebody behind the music. It's the rise and then fall and re-rise of whatever the character is and whatever they're doing. So, but all the suggestions, all the stories, all the songs, all the lyrics, everything comes right from the audience. And I have a band behind me. I've got a terrific band, and they just follow along. They're very talented and
that was one
daring.
of the things that being a drummer, not professionally, but I've drummed since I was 14. That was one of the things that freaked me out, because no one in the band knows where the hell this is going.
Right.
And especially if you're trying to keep time with something which is beyond random, is hilarious.
It's I work with a talented couple of people, and that's been the benefit of working with the same people regularly as well. Is if you get good talented performers, they'll just follow right along with you, and you can follow along.
I've been to a couple of improv nights just on the local comedy circuit, Jason, and they fascinate me. And it's just how they can. I know very little about improv, apart from, and correct me if I'm wrong, the rule number one is always take what you're given, and then make something out of it. Is that right? But I've seen and they do. They turn it and they twist it and they play characters, and it's so spontaneous. And I find it enviable. How do you do that?
Panic is usually the
oh, come on.
I'm not kidding. Oh, you can ask anybody who's seen me do. I've done my show for about 6-7 years now, probably a few hundred times. But every time before I go on stage, I'm panicked. I go, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm going to sing. How's this going to work? And when you get out there and you're kind of, I guess you throw on the adrenaline of it. Your brain is working, your mouth is moving, and if all goes well, they connect in some way, and it's funny, and the audience is part. To me, the best part, and you might experience this as well, Longy, at improv shows, is the audience is kind of part of it. It's a communal experience because they're seeing you recreate this in real time. Somebody recently asked me for a tape of my show, and I said, I can give you a tape of the show, but you won't get it. It's not the same thing. You have to be in the room.
It has to be live. They warmed up the audience first. It was 3 of them. They warmed up the audience by getting the audience to do a Mexican wave orgasm, I think, starting at one end and going to the other.
Hello, Leslie's woken up.
And then it was just spontaneous stuff. Can I say that?
Memories are made of this.
Yes. And I've actually got some guest stars on the show. The shows are Friday and Saturday night at Crazy Cops.
Well, this
Friday
coming
night.
Hang on.
Friday, Saturday.
This Friday and this Saturday. Okie doke.
Yeah, this Friday and Saturday at 7. Yeah.
Okay, at 7. If you've never been, Leslie, you know Crazy Cops.
Yes, I do. And I just wanted to ask, the tunes that you sing to, are they tunes that you make up on the spot, or are they actually known standards?
Nothing's a known standard. It's all stuff we make up.
Oh,
but
wow.
they're based on standards. I mean, I should say that they're different genres. Like any good cabaret will have a ballad and an 11 o'clock number that, a rousing anthem, or, I do a Sondheim song sometimes, or something very Sinatra, very swing, 32-bar swing. So, there's styles that definitely come into play in the songs, but not any song that you particularly recognize. No, it's all kind of made up on the spot.
That's what's hilarious as well.
Russ is bringing me along on Friday or Saturday night.
What?
That's what I heard. Yeah.
You're bringing me along Friday or Saturday night.
You know what I've had to cancel this week? Jason will get this, right? Tonight, I was going with my best friend, Larry Viner. He invited me. We have a show over here, Jason, which is one of the most popular long-running comedy radio shows of all time, called I'm Sorry I Haven't a Clue.
Oh,
it's their 50th anniversary.
Wow.
So tonight I was invited to the Royal Albert Hall to have dinner and watch the recording of the 50th anniversary. I've had to bail because I can't cut my food. And the thought of, there's a story for you. So the thought of sitting having dinner with strangers looking like I make Forrest Gump look like a genius. So I've bailed on that. Tomorrow night, I'm supposed to be co-hosting with the wonderful Robbie Rinder, right, who is a huge star over here. I'm meant to be co-hosting an event with him for a very dear friend. I've had to bail out of that. So the thoughts of going to the Crazy, if I'm feeling any better, I'm going to do my best.
Listen, Russ, if you come to the Crazy Cocks on Friday or Saturday night, I will cut your food. All right? You don't have to worry about that. I'll just come down in the audience and I will cut your food ahead of time. You don't have to worry about any of it.
Now, look, I don't want to be picky, And Leslie, who's known me for 35 plus years, will know I'm not picky, but that does not include you drinking my dry vodka martini at Crazy Cox as well. Food cutting, okay.
Yep, yes.
Drinking the drink, not okay.
No, if I tried to drink before, during my show, I think I would be laughing as much as the audience, and be sitting in the audience waiting for somebody else to do the show.
Let me ask you this. Can I ask you? Let me ask you this.
Please.
And this is serious, because Men's Radio is all about mental health and well-being, and you've cheered us up straight away. No, and I think that I like to do light and shade, because otherwise we can sit here and it does get very, very heavy, sometimes extremely heavy. We're dealing with the most extreme things. But one of the things we talk about a lot, which we all have, I've discussed it with Neil a lot, and Leslie knows what I'm talking about, and so does our audience all over the world. Imposter syndrome. It doesn't matter who you are, how important you are, how famous you are. I think all of us suffer from imposter syndrome, where you get the little, the tap on the shoulder going, and your little voice is going, who the hell do you when you're standing in the wings about to do a very brave show, which relies totally on you, do you get that little voice or not?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Fair enough. That's good. You're an egomaniac. I like you.
I have imposter syndrome when I wake up in the morning. So getting it right before you go on stage, of course. I mean, I know it's a tall order what I'm doing. I also, and to go back to what you were saying about it being, it can get very dark. The world has gotten very dark in a lot of ways, obviously. And there were times when I questioned whether or not after the pandemic, after lockdown ended, whether I should come back and do the show here or in New York or anywhere else. I just kept thinking, what's the point of doing this?
Why did you think that? I know what Neil, this is the question Neil would ask. Why did you think that?
Right. Well, I thought that because as an artist, as an actor, as a performer in general, you feel like, well, why is what I'm doing important right now? What am I doing to help the situation? Right. And, there's a lot that can be done, and I'm doing something that can feel very self-aggrandizing and very self-promotional.
You see, this is the thing, though. This is the thing with really sort of super talented people, which clearly you are. They think, and it's a really unfair reason, I think, if you think about it, to have imposter syndrome, which we all do, by the way. But I read somewhere once, and it really struck me. You're of more value in doing the thing that brings you joy, because it brings other people joy, than you are in doing something you should do. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
I totally know what you mean. Yeah. It's exactly
you're adding more value to the world in the joy of your show
Absolutely.
than the drudgery of, feeding starving children in a country you don't want to go to. And I know that might sound off, but I think it really is true, because if it serves you, it serves other people.
Strengths. We all have what we have to offer the world, and that's what I've come to recognize. At least for me, is I've had to recognize that this is what I have to offer, and so that's why I'm back in London, and that's why I'm back performing in New York. After the first show back in New York, which was last October, I had more than one person say to me, "Oh, I needed this so much.
Yes.
I needed to come out and do this."
That's it entirely.
And that's why it's been easy for me to come back.
You know how much I'll endorse that is Leslie's come on, because she's going to talk about she's a theatre nut, so she's going to talk about all the shows that she's seen. And I think it's so important. One of the things we all felt during lockdown, was that there was no art, there was no live entertainment. And on the one hand, like the government was saying, if you're a dancer, go and learn to, drive a lorry or some bullshit.
Oh, yeah.
And it was so effing insulting to people who are in the arts. If you're not in the arts, fair enough. But to millions and millions of people like yourself or singers or whatever it might be, add so much joy to the world. It's so important. It's not some extraneous little add-on that's a nice to have. No. It's an essential to have.
Now I've gotten over my imposter syndrome. I'm ready for the weekend.
Of course you
so much.
No, but it's a fact. The
interesting thing is, though, science is catching up. We can now measure this stuff, and it's fascinating. Mm-hmm. And there's books written on. There's one called "The Power of Fun for a Fulfilled Life," and it's not as frivolous as it sounds. It's really scientifically backed. And this wonderful author, she makes the case that it's imperative, because Because if your cup isn't full, you've got nothing to give anyone, and you can't fill your own cup by doing something you don't like. And it's really as simple as that.
I agree. I think it's going to be a fun weekend, and I've been looking forward to coming back to London.
Oh, I'd love to see it. I'd love to see it.
Neil, it's a terrific show. It's like nothing I've seen, because if you think about improv, we think of whose line is it anyway? Right. When they go, right, you're a film producer and you're a milkman, go. It's so much, it's on a different league from I'm not knocking improv, but it's what Jason does is just like Jesus.
I think the improv artist I saw, if my memory serves, and it was 20 years ago, Phil Whelan, I think his name was. If that name's familiar, oh God, he was good. He was so natural. You know, that naturalness that Ronnie Barker had. He could just do anything completely naturally. He had that naturalness, and I remember thinking, you lucky, talented. What's it? In my more envious days, but he was fantastic. I'm actually not working Saturday night, so I might actually pop down.
Good God.
Well, I've got a really terrific guest star. Well, I got great guest stars on both nights, but Saturday night I'm very excited about. The first night, Friday night, is I've got Joe Stilgo. I don't know if you know Joe. He's a musician and an amazing crooner, and he's done a lot during the pandemic as well online. On Saturday night, I've got Rachel Paris, who has just taken over the host of the MASH Report.
Rachel Paris, the MASH Report. Yeah. She's brilliant.
Yeah, she's brilliant, and she's long time improviser. She worked with Ostentatious, which
she's brilliant,
which is in the West End.
And she's gorgeous. I'm definitely coming.
Yeah. Oh, well, there you go. Please come out. Yeah, I'm very excited.
Sexism at its worst. I apologize.
Appreciation of the female form. I think you'll find, Mr. Kane.
That's what it's like. That's what it's like in New Malden, Jason. If you're ever invited to New Malden, don't ever go.
I promise I won't.
People dogging like Neil. Now, I've got a question for you, Jason. I don't care. It's the pills. I just don't care. Jason, tell me something, because this interests me a lot. In the days when, as Leslie was saying, the Oversholem days, when I did my stand-up, Caned Laughter, I'd write one show for the UK and did the Edinburgh Fringe and all that. And when I went and did my show in Los Angeles, I think I've done it three times, I think. I write a different show because American audiences are different. Do you adapt your humor for a British audience?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because the show is improvised based on audience suggestions. I have to. But there are certain references that I can't use. There's certain styles that Americans would recognize of musical theater that might not be as recognizable here. But as comedy goes, it's I am who I am. I'm going to do what I do, and I don't have a lot of thinking time, so things just come out. But I do know I've performed the show in several countries. I did it in Amsterdam a few years ago, and Australia back in 2018, and the references that I'm getting from the audience, especially things like places or famous people, I don't know who they are, and so I've had to build in little tricks to try to learn more about the suggestion in character as the show goes on. I mean, like you were talking about, Russ, a normal improv show goes, up, down, up, down. You get the suggestion, they do the thing, they go down again, they ask for another suggestion. I like to think my show goes up and kind of stays at a high level the entire hour or so, and then drop back down at the end.
It really does.
Everything has to stay in character. So when I get something I don't understand or I don't know anything about, I have to find ways to stay in character and learn as much as I can before singing about that.
Many years ago, I always had a thing, Jason, and Leslie will get this, that I wanted to have a bucket list of people that I wanted to see. Even if I wasn't the world's biggest fan, I wanted to say to myself, I've seen them, like Bob Dylan. I'm not the world's biggest Dylan fan, but yes, I went to see Bob Dylan, blah, blah, blah. And one of the people I wanted to see, because I thought he was, I didn't like his politics, but as a timing, was Bob Hope. And Bob Hope, and I was a kid, but I took myself off to the London Palladium, and he was doing a short run at the London Palladium. And he was obviously elderly at the time. And I thought, well, this is going to be, but I just want to say to myself, I saw Bob Hope. And his timing was like a scalpel. I've never seen anything like it. I don't know how old he was, in his 80s by that point, but and he had the audience like that. Now, he did a gag. The reason I'm telling this minor anecdote is that he did a gag, complete silence. We didn't get the American reference, but he had such enormous charisma and charm and professionalism. He says, wait a minute, I'm going to do that gag with the British reference, I realized. And it was we have a product here called Windowline, which cleans windows.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was a joke about trying to clear up Dean Martin's eyes. And he used an American brand.
He used Windex, right?
So, yeah, he used Windex. So 3,000 people at the Palladium going, well, I don't know what the hell that is. You know, put it in your car. And then he did exactly that. It takes some balls. He did exactly the same again using Windowline, and the place fell apart. So that was just fantastic.
Yeah, it's an interesting. Some of the references are very. I was actually watching a little interview with Stephen Fry, who was talking about the difference between American and British comedy, and he made a really great point, which I've thought about a lot, which is on telly, especially when you're looking at. He was talking about the movie Animal House. You remember Animal House?
Yes, John Belushi.
There's a scene where John Belushi at the toga party is walking up the stairs, and some guy's playing I gave my love a cherry that had on the guitar, and he picks up the guitar and he smashes it. John Belushi smashes it against the wall and hands it back to the guy and goes, sorry. And he said, now Americans would want to be John Belushi in that scene, but Brits would like to be the guy with the guitar.
Yes.
There's something about that. You want to be the guy, there's the old Jewish joke book that says, what's the difference between a schlemiel and a schlemazel? A schlemiel is the guy who spills the soup. The schlemazel is the one who gets spilled on. And the Brits want to be the schlemazel. They want to be the one who's sitting with the soup in their pants. And you can see it in any British comedy, any lead character from Basil Fawlty to Ricky Gervais's characters or Stephen Merchant's characters even. There's a kind of quality there that they don't want the person to win at the end and be hopeful, which is the difference between the American version of The Office
completely
and the original. You root for those people. You want to see them for eight series, as opposed to here where it's like 3 is plenty, 3 and a special to get out.
We're done. We're done. We're over it now.
Well, it's just a very different quality. So when my characters, I've had to build in that kind of when I go on stage in London, I have to think about that quality of who the audience is going to root for and why. And
we apologize. You see, Jason, we in Britain, Leslie's going to talk about theatre, and Leslie will know when somebody has to go up and go to the loo. In Britain, excuse me, I'm so sorry. Excuse me, sorry. I'm terribly sorry. As though you're apologizing for existence. Yes. Having lived in New York, it's get your ass out of my way. And I mean, they don't care. They're not going to apologize. They're going to get up. They're going to move. They don't give a shit.
Yeah, it's a little exaggerated, but we can be polite as well. But yes, I see your point. There's an excessive amount of apologizing in Britain compared to the United States.
We do it all the time. If other people bump into me, I find myself apologizing.
That's the difference. Yes, there's the difference. When you get bumped into, you say sorry because you're the schlemazel. That's the difference. Now you know. There's a term for it.
Now we know. If people want to know more about you, Jason, because I know you're busy and I don't want to keep you for too long, but I know you're a busy guy. How do people find you? Where can they go? Is there a website? What's the deal?
For the show this weekend, you can go to the Crazy Cox website and you'll see me there on the 27th and 28th. You could also go to, the name of the show is Off the Top, and it's offthetop.nyc of all things.
Oh, okay.
The website. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Otherwise, you keep your eyes open long enough, you'll see me somewhere.
Good luck with the show. I'm absolutely intrigued. I really would love to see it, Jason.
I would love to have you come down and see it.
I feel I could learn so much as well, because if you're making up music on the spot and improv, I mean, making up improv is clever enough, but making up songs as well.
And some of it, Leslie would appreciate, because she loves musicals and I don't. But some of it, you think, this is Sondheim. This is like, how the hell is this guy standing up there and on the spot? It's not like, I'm sorry to blow smoke up your tuchus, but it's I know you loathe it. I know, like every artist, they hate being praised. But it's not like, hey, give me a minute and the piano's vamping. He just launches into it. And I'm going, God damn. I was like, my jaw was on the table.
Thanks, Russ.
It really is that good.
Lovely. If you come down to the show, please, I'd be happy to have you as my guest, and I'll make sure to introduce you to Rachel Paris as well there along your frame.
I think I love you.
Thank you so much.
I'll even come down and cut your food if you really need it. I'll be happy to do that. Doesn't matter if you have a hand in the cast or not.
Have you ever seen Neil eat in public? You don't want. You don't.
It's a bit feeding time at the zoo.
If you're not wearing, Jason, if you're not wearing a full hazmat suit,
do not get your hand in between the mouth and the food.
No.
Do not get your hand in there. You'll lose it. Is that what happened? Now I understand.
There was one last
I once cooked
piece
chili
of
con
sushi,
carne and there was chili on the
straight.
ceiling. It was a delicious chili, but I don't know how I got it on the ceiling, but I did. So there you go.
Well, please let me know. I'd love to have you as my guest.
Thank you, Jason. Lovely to meet you. And good luck with the show.
Have a wonderful run.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoy London.
Thank you, Russ. I
take care.
enjoy London.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye.
You
Bye. Bye. Just a
wow.
Just a great guy. I wasn't being silly about that show. It is that quite extra. Now, talking of shows, let's crack on, because I thought, let's start the week. You know, life is difficult and I'm feeling terrible. So I thought we'd cheer ourselves up. You've been you're a theatre hound at the moment.
Because it keeps my head together. See, the
Okay.
mental health thing.
No,
I was thinking about this quite a lot over the weekend. And when theatre opened again, people said to me, "Oh, you're not going back yet." 100% I was, because it helps. It's escapism, it's entertainment, whatever it is. I just need to say, though, when you said, that I love musicals, I'm not a jukebox musical girl.
No,
okay?
I get that. No, I get that.
Proper musicals, yes.
Well, they're cheap to put on. That's why they're cheap to put on, because you don't have to write original music.
I love the mental health reference as well, but it's a two-way street, because it works for the performers as well.
Yeah.
I know many people who've had some mental health issues and have used theatre and performance as a way of healing, catharsis, almost acting out the part of themselves that needed healing so they could see it at a distance. It works, and then deal with it. It works at many, many levels, and that's why people who are performing could never retrain, that the government said that was when I heard that, I was like, really?
Well, that's by somebody who's never ever had anything to do with the arts. And I'm not arty. I'm not arty-farty in the least, but it's so clear. You could say that. The difference is, if you took somebody working behind the counter at the NatWest and say, right, you're going on Crazy Cock's off, they would die 1,000 deaths. I mean, they couldn't do it any more than I could be an accountant.
Darling,
there you go.
With the government, I mean, and maybe I shouldn't go there, but none of them are educators either, but they think they know how to run an education system.
Oh yeah,
that's another whole show, which I know, because I want to talk to you.
And don't start me on smart motorways, but that is another. I won't go there.
Absolutely.
So, was there ever such a misnomer as smart motorway?
I know. What an oxymoron.
What a stupid bloody idea.
But we could go on all day. Well, so Leslie, I really want to know tell us all about what you've been to see.
Yeah. Well, I've been to see, how many did I send you? I can't remember.
I think like 4 or 5 or more.
No, about 7.
Oh, okay. I stopped after 4. I was busy.
The first thing that I saw this year that I was just, everything I'm going to talk about is still running and running for a while, and I can let you know how long it's running for.
Okay.
He doesn't look like he's breastfeeding.
No, he's Michael Verby. I've known since he was literally a baby. He now lives in Spain. He went out to visit. This is true. He went out to visit he lives in Leeds. God knows what he was doing there, because he was from I think Stanmore, and near there. And he went out to visit his sister Stacey, who lives somewhere in Spain, south of Spain, for a week. He's never come back. He's been out there like a year. He's never come back. I'm not joking.
I'm beginning to think, with the comment he made, maybe that's no bad thing.
Yeah, that's all right. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Anyway,
his dad and my dad were best pals. They were inseparable buddies. Anyway, there we are.
So the first thing that I really made a big difference in a way, because I learned while watching it, was Straight Line Crazy at the Bridge, which I know, Russ, you've seen. Mm-hmm. And that's Ralph Fiennes, however he pronounces his name. Phenomenal. I mean, the man just sort of consumes this script as if it was a single line. Incredible actor, a bit declamatory, but really, really good. And the play is about a guy called Robert Moses, about whom I knew nothing. And he's the guy that had a vision for how to reshape New York and the traffic going through New York, Manhattan. And he cuts through all sorts of stuff. He meets Vanderbilt and sort of puts him down.
That's the best scene.
I actually like the
my favorite scene. And
I
the
like
mayor.
the scene with the mayor. No, that's Vanderbilt isn't the mayor.
No. I said my two favorite scenes.
Oh, sorry.
One was meeting Vanderbilt on Long Island, because it just summed up. I just love it. Said, there's someone at the door, at my door. And then the scene with the mayor. And I thought the mayor stole the show. That actor who I love stole the show.
The actor who plays the mayor is called Danny Webb. He's
just great.
He's a virtuoso actor, and I thought he stole the scene.
He walked away with it.
The humor, everything about it. But there's more than that. The design of the set. It's designed by a guy called Bob Crowley, and it's very sparse, very simple. But because of that, you can kind of, I don't know, get into it. On the other hand, there are other plays with simple sets where I just think, really? But I would thoroughly recommend this.
I'll tell you what I thought about it. One, it's an obscure subject. It's like a guy who built roads, really. But I came out and I thought to myself, okay, have I learnt anything? Yeah, there was a guy called Robert Moses and he was obsessed and he ran everything for 40 years. Did I care? My worry was, I thought, no, don't, and Neil, bear with me on this. It's the separation of admiring the actor and the skill, thinking, wow, all of them were great. No, there was one performance that was a bit weak. The rest were fantastic. So you can admire that. Did I think the subject matter was worthy of an entire play? I'm going to be absolutely honest. No, I didn't.
No, you don't care. At least I didn't care about what happened to any of them afterwards. I didn't think about them. What I thought about was how clever the road designs were and how well it worked.
It was.
Well, I had to look up declamatory and what it meant, and I know now. So.
But Neil,
using big words on a Monday afternoon, Leslie.
Neil, imagine doing an entire play about some idiot who thought of smart motorways. It's like,
I would have a go at that.
Oh, come on! It wasn't that basic.
No. He revolutionized everything. But it was very interesting. Anyway, it's worth going to see because Ralph Fiennes is a powerhouse, and that's all there is.
But also, it's worth going to see if you've never been to the Bridge, because the Bridge is the newest theatre in London, and it is phenomenal.
Favorite.
There is not one bad seat in the whole house, so you can get a really cheap seat and still, really cheap, relatively cheap,
45
and still see very, very well. It's a fantastically wonderful theatre.
If I could just say, first of all, I love it because it's an 8-minute bus ride for me. It's perfect. No parking, no journey. It's great. Number two, what they did with the Bridge Theatre. I wish everything in life was like the Bridge Theatre. And I'm not being stupid when I say this. Is what they did is they thought, right, what do we want? We want to keep the very best aspect of going to a West End theatre, but take out all the absolutely shit things about going to a West End theatre, which is one, the seats are built for midgets and they're very uncomfortable. Two, it's too hot normally. Three, you wait in the queue for a gin and tonic and you have to put it down in one glug because the queue's so long. And God forbid you need the toilet, you will miss half the show. So they looked at all of this and they completely redid it. But you have the intimacy, even though it's a 900-seater. In fact, there's an architectural thing, and I wrote an entire piece about my favorite building in London. It's the Bridge Theatre because of its architecture and the brilliance behind it. It's great. If you've never been, Bridge Theatre on the South Bank, it's wonderful.
I wonder if you could do a whole play on that.
Do you know what?
Well, you could actually, because it's the first privately built theatre in 50 years or 80 years.
Something like that.
Yeah.
And the other thing about it is everything in the theatre is changeable. They change where the seats are. They take them out. They put them back. All sorts of. It's just a phenomenal space.
Yes, completely modular. It can be in the round. It can be traditional.
Yeah.
It's just great. And also, once they get their kitchen back up and running post-COVID, they do the best cheese twists in town. And for me, that's all. Yeah, Neil. I had Neil straight away. It doesn't matter about the plate. Neil, we'll go for the cheese twist.
And the bar runs the whole length of the foyer. Don't forget that, Ross.
And what is so clever, I'm so sorry to bang on about this, because we complain about things a lot here, because there's a lot in life to complain about, because it's stupid and hasn't been thought through. So, for example, the queues at bars in theatres. What, as Leslie says, the bar is gigantic. So you wait no more than like 2 minutes. But it's intimate. So you've got a huge foyer, and yet it feels intimate. It's so clever.
That's clever.
Okay, next play.
Yes, please.
Next play, To Kill a Mockingbird.
Are we allowed to talk about it, or do we get on the front page of the Daily Mail?
No, we don't.
Okay.
Stop it. I don't
know.
read the mail.
There's a reason why I say this.
Yes, I know there's a reason why. It's very... Sorry, I'm going to cut you off, because that's the only way to keep you quiet. Yeah, go. It's fine. You're not... No, you are needed, darling. It's on at the Gielgud. It's on till the 13th of August. And this has another stunningly good actor in it. And I just think it's again, another Rafe Spall, Tim Spall's son. He is really good. He takes the lead as Atticus Finch. Yeah. The only thing I really didn't like, apart from the woman who sat behind me, who was kicking the back of my seat and taking her jacket off and hitting me with it, but I gave her the look, so it shut her up. Yeah, she got
Neil. If you've never had the Demeter
I can do the look.
Please go on. Whoa. That's the way.
Did your gonads just tighten up? Because she's.
That's terrible. The way Judi Dench looked at Bond when she said, "I'll send you out into the field," and without compunction. And
I would take that as such a compliment, because she's my total acting hero.
It was intended that way. That was very Judy.
Thank you, darling.
See, that's Ray how you win them over us. You see,
Ray Spall does this really well. The only thing that I didn't like, they've all got these sort of Southern accents, Southern American accents, and they do them well. But Ray Spall at times sounded to me a bit Australian, but I got over it. It wasn't a big deal. Now, Aaron Sorkin has adapted the original screenplay and the book for stage, and he's done a phenomenal job, because what he's done is draw out really the moral inconsistencies of Atticus. Atticus in the book comes across as this infallible, wonderful, fabulous man. But actually in this, what we see is, whilst he's very dignified and on the side of the law and believes in American justice, he actually has elements of racism in him, which yes, exactly, Gregory Peck didn't really have. But since the second book that Harper Lee wrote came out, and it showed these flaws in him, Sorkin's adapted it slightly. The story is still the same. You've got the three kids, Scout, Jem, and Dill, all of whom are played by adults, but brilliantly. And you don't notice it's adults playing children. It works. But what we get with Atticus, when he talks to his housekeeper, who is a black woman, she picks out certain things and says to him, look, you've said this, you've said that in the past. Do you not realize that actually everything isn't as wonderful as you paint it? And it really, really works. There's a lot of tension in it. There's anger. There's terrific humor. Absolutely terrific humor. The chap who plays Dill is just a very humorous, lovable character, and it works. I just loved it. I thought it was super.
Let's detour for a second, because this is important. You're an educationalist. That's Indeed. What you do. A friend of mine, I'm trying to make it more neutral so they can't be identified. Somebody I know very, very well is senior at a school. And in their school, somebody was trying to teach. The book was To Kill a Mockingbird. That was the course book, right? And the teacher was reported for you know where I'm going with this.
Using the N word.
For using the N, and what the teacher's trying to do is simply talking about the book. To me, it's like talking about, I don't know, the first man on the moon and not saying the word moon.
Yeah.
Where do you stand on that? As an educationist, where do you
I've
stand?
known comedians that have told jokes about the ridiculousness and wrongness of racism and get called racist for it.
Yeah. Well,
it's people that don't get it. It's this trigger reaction, isn't it?
Do you know what? It's interesting because the N word is used a huge amount in the play.
Mm-hmm.
And every time it is, one feels a little bit uncomfortable, but that's no bad thing because it's kind of the point. The point is, reflecting on oneself. And I've said time and again, we cannot and should not rewrite history. What we should do is examine what happened and look at maybe what was wrong and how we can rectify it. But changing language changing language often just allows people who are racist, anti-Semitic, whatever they are, to hide behind politically correct language.
Of course they do.
And their true stuff.
And portraying it on stage and making people feel a bit uncomfortable, it is essentially a very arty, clever way of essentially calling it out. Absolutely.
And this play does just that. And there are times when I felt hugely uncomfortable. The courtroom scene is absolutely phenomenal. The whole thing really comes alive when you're hearing the testimonies of those who are, or the man who's being prosecuted and everything. But it's the words do matter and don't matter. And there were plenty of black people in the audience and they didn't seem at all offended.
But it's not like you think you're going to see My Fair Lady and suddenly everyone's up on stage saying the N-word. This is why when you treat people like idiots, they'll behave like idiots. You know what you're going in. You don't go into I don't know, Burger King and say, "Can I have a haunch of venison, please?" You know what you're going to get.
Yeah.
No.
And
although, funnily enough, talking of My Fair Lady, which I saw last week.
Oh yeah.
My Fair Lady
Clever
has.
segue, Ross.
Do we call it colorblind casting now? Eliza is a young black woman, as is her dad. Eliza is played by an actress called Amala Okereke. I think I'm pronouncing that properly. Mm-hmm. And her dad is played by Stephen K. Amos.
Who I love. I think he's hilarious.
I love Stephen K. Amos.
He's hilarious.
In the Stanley Holloway part, he inhabits it beautifully. And this young woman who plays Eliza has the most breathtaking, stunning voice. She sounded like she could fill a stadium with her voice. Wow. Quite phenomenal. However, for me, the sound balance at the theatre, and it's at the London Coliseum, which is home to the English National Opera.
Should be good.
Pardon?
It should be good, the sound.
It should be good. It was not good. That's polite. At the beginning,
but say what you feel. Don't be polite. Was it rubbish?
It was shit. The sound was shit at the beginning. It was
unacceptable,
over amplified, totally unbalanced. And what I was aware of, and we were sitting in the front row of the dress circle, fab. I was aware that I was just hearing voices through speakers as opposed to what I'm used to, which is actors on the stage.
Yeah.
And she didn't need it. None of them needed it. As it went on, it got better. Now, I don't know if I got used to it or if they actually managed to balance the sound. It was an enjoyable show in as much as the Lerner and Lowe music and words are just phenomenal.
Yeah, it's a lovely show.
I knew every word of every song.
It's a lovely show.
Yeah, and my niece kept saying to me, "Please shut up." And the girl next to her kept saying to her mum the same thing, "Please stop singing." It's very interesting. I took my niece, who is nearly 19, and the other girl next to us was 20. And we both said to them at the interval, "Are you enjoying it?" Because we thought maybe it's dated, what have you. It's fabulous. This music is so good. And I just thought, stands the test of time.
I saw My Fair Lady. I've only seen it once in my life on stage. And do you remember there was a run? I've forgotten the famous actor. He was a baddie in James Bond. It's gone right out of my head. And Martine McCutcheon
at the National
played Eliza Doolittle.
Yeah.
Now, as you know, there was huge controversy about Martine McCutcheon because Jonathan Pryce couldn't stand. I'm not telling tales out of school. Couldn't stand her. There was a whole load of there was a whole load of hoo-ha. Putting that to one side because I don't really care. There's a pivotal point, isn't there, in My Fair Lady, where 1 minute she's Cockney and then she's all very marvelous. So you're so used to Martine McCutcheon, who, by the way, was, to my amazement, was really good. I was stunned. I thought she'd be rubbish. She was excellent. But because she does speak as a Cockney, that's her normal voice. So when the transition came, the whole audience went, because it was so extraordinary. When you see normally with received pronunciation, they're pretending to be God blimey Cockney, and then they speak in their kind of Julie Andrews voice. It's nice, but it's not a revelation. But when you know the person really is a Cockney and they turn it on, it was great.
Great. She was excellent. And actually, this production to me was let down by a couple of things. The set was the biggest letdown to me. Oh. They really pulled the stops out on Professor Higgins' study, where he spends a huge amount of time with Colonel Pickering, blah, blah, blah. And the guy that plays Professor Higgins was just Henry Haddon Patton, his name is. He was superb. I adored him. Absolutely loved him. He was younger. He was credible. It really worked. And the guy playing Pickering was lovely, an actor called Malcolm Sinclair. They were all very good, but the set for his house and even Higgins' mother's house wasn't bad, but the rest of it was so, I'm going to use the word flat. When they were at Doolittle's pub, Mr. Doolittle's pub, and in his area and the bit that's meant to be round St. Paul's, it was scenery that could have been painted, and this is no put down on schools, but for a school play. It was diabolical, yeah. Wow. Really appalling, and it was dull staging. The show, the singing was fantastic, but for me it lacked pizzazz, it lacked spectacle and splendor. The Ascot scene, everybody's very nicely dressed and huge, lovely hats. I wanted the hats.
Obviously.
But it didn't impact the way it should have done on that stage. It's a huge stage. I mean, if you want to go and be entertained with fabulous songs, go see it. And Vanessa Redgrave is in it.
Good Lord.
She plays Higgins' mother, and she's just charming and charismatic. And I watched her when she was on stage. There were a couple of scenes where she says a bit and then she's very quiet and off to the side. She didn't stop acting for a moment. Not to upstage anyone, but just quietly being part of it as opposed to just being bored. So she was fab. And if you want some light-hearted entertainment to lift your spirits, and okay, you're not really meant to sing along, obviously, but why not?
What the hell? You paid your ticket price.
I remember just you mentioning Stephen K. Amos. I got to know he's a lovely guy, and two, he used to do stand up at my local. It was just above a pub, in a room in a pub in New Malden, and he would compare it every week. And he was so good at that. And he did this little EastEnders thing. He'd do EastEnders in one word. So he'd like Pauline or like that. And it was just like one word EastEnders. And every single week we'd all go EastEnders, and he'd go, oh, not again. And he'd have to trot through it again. But I'm so glad I haven't heard his name for a while, so I'm so glad he's still well and truly in the game. Brilliant.
He has the scene where he does Get Me to the Church on Time is perhaps the liveliest scene in the whole show. Yeah. And they have lots of cast members on, and half of them are in drag. And it's sort of can dancers, but in drag and stuff like that. It is very funny.
I'm sure he's fantastic. His stand-up is very good as well. He's very funny stand-up.
But it's beautiful. But as I say, as a whole, I just thought this is going to be grand and spectacular and marvellous. Brilliant singing. Enough said.
Right, next,
okay. Something that really you shouldn't go and see at all is called The Breach, which is on at Hampstead. And I really didn't like it. I'll often go to Hampstead because they have new writers.
Yeah.
It's relatively inexpensive for theatre. The acting was okay, but the actors often sounded muffled. And I know I don't hear as well as I used to, but believe me, it wasn't just me that was saying they were muffled. It was very stagnant. It was very tedious. It left lots of unanswered questions.
What was it about?
Well, it's about a brother and sister, and The brother makes friends with a couple of boys and they start up a little club in the basement of the house. And it's all about those kind of rites of passage and things that boys go through. And you hear about things.
I haven't got the energy for that.
Well, you hear about things that they did. Also, we know that the brother and sister, their father died falling off a building on a building site. And there's some weird stuff.
It wasn't Rod Hull, was it?
Shut up. The set is just a box.
Too much, Neil? Too soon?
The stage is sloped towards the audience, no scenery, nothing. And every so often they reenact what might have their father have been thinking as he was falling, as they roll about the stage. That's kind of weird. But within this, there's actually, within this play, lots of shocks. There's a double rape, there's a suicide, there's a workplace. Exactly.
So and it's a musical comedy, isn't it?
Well, exactly. You're left with questions about consent, about violation, about trauma. And basically, none of those questions are answered. I turned to the couple next to me in the interview and I said, what do you think of it? He said, oh, I think it's really good, really good. He said, and you? I said, I think it's bloody dreadful. I'm thinking of leaving. But I didn't, because I thought it might get better.
And they don't.
I'm going to be really truthful. What really made me feel good was a week or so later when the reviews came out, the guy in The Guardian agreed with everything I said, and I felt completely vindicated.
You felt vindicated?
It's ghastly. Now,
Neil, I can see Neil. You're like chomping at the bit. I can hear the cogs turning. Like you've got too many questions.
At all. I needed to yawn. I needed to hide it because I
was covering for you, fool.
Darling, you can yawn when I'm on. I don't mind.
No, but people think I'm bored with what they're saying, and it's the last thing I am. It's tired, not bored.
Isn't it interesting?
I wasn't. I didn't think for a moment. How could you be bored with me?
All right,
two more very, very quick ones.
Okie dokie. We've got 9 minutes, so there we go.
Okay, Jerusalem, which is nothing to do with the country, okay? It's on at the Apollo till the 7th of August, and it is phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. Mark Rylance is the lead in it, and I've never seen him live before, and I was mesmerized by him. This guy is... well, just the most, I haven't got the superlative to describe how brilliant I thought his acting was. Mackenzie Crook is in it as well.
Oh, The Office.
Sorry, that's me miming Very Tall Man.
And Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yes, possibly. I have only watched it once.
Definitely.
Your friend Johnny Depp's in that, isn't he?
My pal.
Basically, Rylance plays a chap called Johnny or Rooster Byron, and he inhabits a caravan on the edge of a woodland. It's as if he's kind of keeper of the woodland around him. And the very first bit is very slapstick, very foul-mouthed and hysterically funny. It's bloody brilliant. If you're sitting in the front 2 or 3 rows, just be careful. That's all I'll say. I don't want to say anything else to spoil it. He had lots of youngsters, some of as young as 15, hang out with this sort of middle-aged man. And they smoke a lot of weed and they consume a lot of alcohol. And they really seem to have a good time. It's a bit hippy-dippy. But what we learn is that he's imminently due for eviction from the forest as a public nuisance. Not just the local council, but the Shire county are taking against him and want him to move out. And we just see all the ups and downs of that. There's a terrific guy in it who plays a professor. Alan David is the actor's name. And he plays the professor, and he's beautifully, quietly funny in a very British way. There's another well-known actor called Gerard Horan who plays Wesley, who owns the local pub. And the best scenes are when he comes on dressed like a Morris man. I mean, just very funny. It takes you all over the place because there are times when you question, is this character Rooster, is he actually abusing these youngsters or isn't he? They seem to be there of their own volition. There's nothing to keep them there. But he does seem to provide a safe space for them to be themselves and to chat and what have you. And then you think, well, actually, am I getting taken in by this? But I don't know. I left it absolutely loving the character and not feeling any antagonism towards him at all. I just thought, for me, it was one of those uplifting things. And I came out thinking, yeah, this is what real theatre's about.
So that's Jerusalem, and that's on Shaftesbury Avenue, isn't it?
That's on at the Apollo, you know, the one where the roof came down a couple of years ago. Yeah, and that's on until the 7th of August. My final one is called the 47th, and it's on at the Old Vic until the end of this month. So you've only got a few more days. Oh. It stars a chap called Bertie Carvel, who plays Donald Trump. And he is astonishingly good as Donald Trump. The hair, the orange makeup, everything, the walk, everything about him. It's a look at future history, really, because it's about Trump running for office again and about Biden's increasing decrepitude.
Yep.
Kamala Harris is if that's Kamala, however it's properly pronounced.
Diane Abbott, I call her.
Yeah, well, you might. She comes across very well in this, all right? The interesting thing is Simon Williams, who plays Justin Elliott in The Archers, but was also James Bellamy in Upstairs, Downstairs. He plays Biden, and he's brilliant.
Oh, my God, Simon Williams.
Yeah.
He was like sort of the handsome leading man, wasn't he?
Believe me, he is still very handsome. I met him last year, the year before, at the bridge, and he's still very handsome and extremely charming. And if he asked, I'd say yes.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
He is absolutely wonderful, and he kind of sleepwalks very frailly across the stage, and it's as if he's wringing his hands like Lady Macbeth does. And weirdly, this whole play is written in blank verse, so there's some.
Oh God, is it?
Well, no, it's not. It's not. Oh, Russ, stop it!
No, I'm serious.
It works. It works. Okay. You will, if you know any Shakespeare, you'll spot a few references. There's lots of bits that are like King Lear in it with Trump and his daughter, and her betraying her siblings. They even blind one of the news reporters, a bit like the Earl of Gloucester is blinded in King Lear. But the language at times is hysterically funny. It's weird. I don't know if I liked it. That's what I will say to you. I really don't know if I liked it. The ridiculousness of Trump certainly comes across and made us laugh as an audience, but it's a little bit too soon to be thinking of Trump as president again.
Well, it's either going
to
be him, or it'll be him or Ron DeSantis. A little bit of disagreement amongst our gang, because Paul Andrews, who we love, saying Back to the Future's fun but highly memorable. Not
highly memorable.
Sorry, I'm sorry, it's the drugs. And then Liz Saul says, I loved Back to the Future. Not traditionally memorable, but a great nod to that. I'm going to see it again in a few weeks.
Well, I can help here because I'm going to see it with said Liz Saul, and I shall give you my opinion when I see it.
Please do.
Timmy, Alexis, Carrington, Colby, Ward. Dexter, whatever.
Yeah.
Timmy's partner is linked to it.
It's his. I think they're married.
All right, Timmy's husband is linked.
I think Timmy's gay. I could be wrong.
Stop it! But he's linked to the production.
No, he's the what do you call the company manager?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I said he's linked to the production.
He's the grand fromage of backstage. Yes. David, who's the nicest man.
I haven't got tickets for it because it's a bit jukebox to me. Why did they bother? Because it's already a film.
No, not being disrespectful at all to Timmy's other half, who I've met only about 1 million times. It has no appeal to me at all.
No, none to me.
It doesn't appeal to me. Oh, and
Longy, you enjoy it, sweetheart. Let us know.
I absolutely will. I absolutely will, because I love the trilogy. I could watch those over and over again to this day. Absolutely,
they're fun flicks. They're fun flicks. Paul Andrews is going to see the last of Barry Humphries. Yes, I wish I could be seeing that. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I hope everyone's enjoyed it. I know it was a slight little detour for us, but I do believe, I've said it so many times, that art and humor, comedy, plays, rock and roll, they help us so much. They are not some little pathetic add-on. They are central to what makes us You know,
unanimous agreement on that, I think.
and whether you want to just go and have a laugh and relax, or you want to be like Jerusalem, thought-provoking, or whatever it is, and some of it you'll like, some of it you won't like. But my thing is, give it a go. If you don't like it, like Leslie said, you can always leave. I've loved today. Thank you both so much.
It's been lovely to see you, Leslie.
And
I've
lovely
loved
to
every
see
moment
you,
of it.
And good luck with the hand. I'm so sorry. You know, having gone through, can you see the scar?
Yeah.
Gone through what I went through last year.
God.
It's going to take time.
It's driving me mad. Well,
and you
back
know
to the
I'll come and do more than cut your food up.
And on that note of sensuality, bye everybody.
Bye.
Good afternoon.